presentation time, okay? But then, so I think we are pretty much on par with our schedule, okay? So that's a good thing. And so as I mentioned earlier, the midterm number 2 is based on the midterm number 1, okay? So in the first presentation, you were exposed to different companies so far. I think 10 companies so far, okay? Maybe you like some of the companies, or maybe some of the companies you're not familiar. But I think by now, you had the opportunity to get yourself familiarized with those companies, and for those companies that you have known before, I'm sure that through the exercise you have developed a more understanding of those companies, okay? Especially between financials to financials, okay? And as we mentioned earlier, the first presentation is about the relationship between the EPS, the earnings per share, and the stock price. Okay, and I think so far you have used the 6 figures and 6 figures of the stock price. You have run the correlations, and I saw some of the numbers are pretty good. I mean, I've seen like 0.95. That's like a really high number, close to 1, right? Which is the maximum in our case. So, and then we have talked about what's your explanation to that, what's your interpretation to that. I think by doing that kind of, Q&A, you actually have a better understanding of the company that you have chosen, okay? And to follow up on that, the second presentation is even more interesting, right? Because we're going to talk about the debt ratios, and we're going to talk about the CSR. Those are the pillars that that is draw a lot of attention from people in terms of the financial community, the investment communities, and the corporate finance community. And what we need to do is to look at whether in the years when you have high debt ratios, did you see the EPS and stock price relationship got disconnected or got more connected? Okay, and with the same logic for the high ESG firms, right, or the high ESG years, did you see the relationship between EPS and stock price becomes more disconnected, or more connected? Okay, and the reason I chose those two is, first of all, those two variables of interest are quite new nowadays. And also, the second thing is they could have different impact on the relationship. For example, if you have debt, more debt, it could be more disruptive to the relationship than otherwise. And when you have ESG, it could be more stabilizing, right, to the relationship than otherwise. So one is doing a good job. One is giving you a good or positive effect. The other one is giving you more adverse and negative effect. So I think by doing both, you actually get to see both sides of the effect on the relationship between EPS and stock price. Okay, I think that's kind of interesting. Okay, to see at the company level. Because I believe many of you will be after this, after you graduate, you will join the companies, good companies, top tier companies, S&P 500 companies. You never know, right? And you have previously exposed to those companies, and you know what those companies objectives is, right? So when you becomes the part of a company as active employee, you can do something for the company, okay? And if you have made several positive contributions and consistently, pick the positive projects, I mean, you could experience many promotions, right? After you land on the job, okay? So I think this is something really interesting. And then I think today we are halfway through the midterm presentation, okay? And so today I think we're gonna finish maybe ideally all the presentations for the midterm presentation number 2, okay? And then we can move on to the next one, okay? And the next one is even more exciting, okay? The next one is what I call the final presentation for this course on the international finance, okay? So for this presentation or this sharing, you would engage with some of the real world financial events, okay? And I do have a list of those events from which you can choose which one you like, okay? But those events are quite common. Like I think some of you have experienced to some of them, and for some event, I think all of us have experienced them. Okay, so I'm not too worried about that. But then for those events, what you're gonna look at is how it's gonna impact on the exchange rate. Okay, because I think in this course, international finance, right? Not only we want to focus on the micro level, we also want to look at the macro level, right? The country level, right? Like when you try to do the business to business, or if you want to do the resource allocation, money in, money out of the countries, then you will have to talk about the exchange rate, okay? And for this exchange rate, I think all of us would have to look at the exchange rate, talk about what would be the impact of such event on the exchange rate, okay? And I think the only difference is each group of you would be assigned to do different events, okay? Maybe you have chosen your topic, then that's fine, okay? Because if you haven't, I can just help you by assigning you to one topic, okay? And the idea is, again, to talk about the events, okay, that you like, okay? And as you see on the projector, we have 10 events, okay? We have the COVID-19 global crisis. I think all of us, right, experienced that because it only happened about, less than 6 years ago, okay? And the second one is about the U.S. Great Depression, right? Which is a little bit further in the history. So it was back in 1929. So some of you actually have to look into the history and to see what happens, okay? And so that was a big event for in the history of United States because it lasts for 10 years, okay? And a lot of people, they don't know what to do with those 10 years. And other people, they lost their job and not be able to get their job back within 10 years, okay? And so despite it's kind of a long time ago, but then some people still look at history. Like for example, like Bernanke from the Princeton University. He got a couple of the theses on the depression, okay? And that will actually bring us to the third event, the U.S. financial crisis of 2008, okay? because when it happened, the U.S. government, they don't know what to do with it. So they have to they actually have to seek the help from Bernanke, who studied the Great Depression and also study what are the ways can possibly help the U.S. get out of the loop. Okay, so when he applied his knowledge to the U.S. financial crisis, he had used both the monetary policies and also the fiscal policies. So, as I mentioned, it took about 10 years for the U.S. to finish the Great Depression. But guess what? For the financial crisis of 2008, it got recovered. Okay, it got recovered almost within 2 years. Okay, so back in 2009, I think the U.S. economy becomes more stable, okay, than otherwise. So that is sometimes what people say the power, the knowledge is the power. Okay, so that's one of the examples to that. And then the fourth episode is about the Japanese asset bubble. Happened in early 1990s. Okay, so when you look at what happened in the 1980s, there was a hearsay that the Japanese, the Tokyo, the real estate was booming, and the value is so expensive. It's like you can purchase the whole USA, okay, based on the real estate in the Tokyo, okay. And so what happened is because the bubble and people become a little bit crazy economically, and so the Japanese government, they start trying to cool down the system. So they cool down the system by increasing the interest rate. Okay, and because they increased that too much and too sudden, so that actually result in a hike in the interest rate. And because that interest rate hike, a lot of people cannot afford it, right? Because that interest rate hike would actually translate into a 2 times or 3 times more the monthly mortgage. Okay, so a lot of people just cannot afford a house and they have to let go of the house. Okay, so that will bring us to the 5th episode, the Japanese economics. Okay, that's when the Abe, the Prime Minister Abe of the Japanese government, when he resumed the 2nd term in Japan since 2012, he had enacted a couple of policies, including the monetary policy, including the internal investment policy, and including trying to get the females and elders back to work, okay, to increase its workforce base, okay, and it has some results, but not as significant result as we think, okay. So still nowadays, people, they wonder how effective was that policy, and whether it should have any more policies to help the Japanese economy to back to its original state, or back to the track. Okay. So when we look at Japan right now, I mean, what we hear is that its debt level, it's almost 200% of its GDP, and also the Japanese yen is kind of depreciating a lot, right? I mean, last time we heard about that 2 years ago was 1 unit of US in exchange for 140. Now it goes down to 160, right? And people wondering, can it go down further to 180, something like that, okay? So Yeah, so this is still puzzling to a lot of economics and also the people in the international trade, international finance. Okay, and that will actually bring us to more recent events, which is number 6, the Asian financial crisis of the 1997. That's when a lot of hot money coming from the Western world into Thailand, Malay, Indonesia, Philippines, and those hot money actually double, the capital markets. So, and also at the same time double the real estate in those countries. Okay. So, and some of those countries they have used the fixed, exchange rate with the U.S. because they think that will make them more like the, gold standard. Okay, but then when the money, the hot money, got withdrawn overnight and returned back to their home country, such as the USA or UK, the local, economy cannot sustain that, right? So because a lot of people they actually follow suit. So that's what we call the herd effect. A lot of people follow suit to purchase the stocks when other people do that, and also some people they purchase the houses when other people do that, right? So when there was a sudden withdrawal of the hot money, then economy get collapsed. Okay, and so it started with Thailand and spread out to other countries. Okay, so what we need to do is to talk about, first of all, out of those 4 countries, which one got recovered soon, and why is that the case? Okay, so again, we try to learn something from history. So for example, we have 4 people who got sick. Maybe someone can get recovered overnight. Some people cannot, recover until 1 month later. So should the person, got recovered, after 1 month, learn something from the person who got recovered overnight? Yes, right? That's for sure. So then, I think some of you are interested in those countries, and so you can talk about those countries. And if you are hearing people sharing those countries, of course you feel welcome to jump in and just share your opinion on those as well. And that will bring us to the number 7, the Hong Kong peg exchange rate. That's when the Hong Kong they start pegging the U.S. the standard since the early 1980s. Okay, and the reason is because the Hong Kong they want to maintain a stable economy for its citizens, because when you have a stable economy, it actually good for the trade. Okay, imagine that when you want to negotiate with the other party on the other side of the table, right? What will be the exchange rate for us to do, the trade? They gonna have different opinion, and you have a different opinion, and also the bank will have different opinion, right? But assume the government will give you only one number. You and the other party and the bank will need to follow that number. Isn't the business become easier in a sense? So if the negotiation for 24 hours can cut down to less than 1 hour, right? So it's actually good for the business. Okay, so someone will actually be assigned to the topic, or will have handpicked that topic already, then will share with us what happened to Hong Kong for the past 30 years. Okay, and also since Hong Kong is under the regime of China government, you might think that especially when the Chinese renminbi can be used in Hong Kong as well as in Macau. You might think that what happened if China government asked the Hong Kong government to give up their currency. So no more Hong Kong dollars, okay? But only use the renminbi, the Chinese yen, okay? If this happens, do you think that's gonna be beneficial to the Hong Kong economy, or it's gonna be bad for the Hong Konger, right? That's what I call the people in Hong Kong, okay? And that will bring us to the number 8 episode, which is the Brexit, okay? So that is the withdrawal of the UK from the EU back in 2016. And I think yesterday when I was in the other course of the International Business Management, I just talked about that. And I was fortunate to have people from Germany and Austria, right? And they mentioned that the UK really feel regretful of their vote in 2016 because after they left everyone, they are so lonely, okay? And they also feel, they don't have a lot of support from the neighboring countries because they are pretty much one island, sitting by itself, okay? So and those two and the discussion also include that it becomes more difficult for the UK to return to the embrace of the euro now because the time is different, okay? And then that will bring us to the nice event, which is the US.com bubble in early 2000. We know that AI is booming right now, right? And we have this kind of the concept of AI stocks. So anything that can be classified as AI stocks, right? They tend to be booming, right? And we can see the rise of the stock price over time, okay? And especially for the past 1 month, right? I think 1 month ago we talked about TSMC, and the stock price was about one stock. It's about $1.8 million. Guess now, what's the market value of one stock TSMC now? It's about $2.2 million. So we are talking about $0.4 million increase over 1 month. Okay, so that's how crazy the stock market is, and that's why when you turn on the TV in Taiwan, you hear the news, and we have about 500,000 people recently just jumped into the capital markets because it is so hot nowadays. Okay, so people actually get a lot of money, get a lot of return from TSMC, and also get from the NVIDIA, okay, as well, okay? So that actually will bring us to look at the US.com bubble because that is the technology issue. So the question is, there was a bubble and it got bursted. How long did it take? How long did the economy take to get recovered? Okay, and we'll use the same logic when we look at the AI right now. If the AI is a bubble, if that's bursted, how long would the economy get recovered? Would it be 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? So that's what we're trying to do, to learn from the history, okay? And the last one is called the Eurozone sovereign debt crisis. So this would include some countries like Ireland, Iceland, and the Portugal, and a couple of like Greece, okay? And they are the member states of EU. But back in 2011, right? they were in a huge debt. Okay, and that's because the governments keep spending a lot of money, right? Despite they don't have enough revenue, and also the citizens as well as the public servants, they enjoy a lot of pension benefits, and the government have never thought to cut down those pensions. Okay, so they keep enjoying having fun for their lives, and then they don't get enough the tax revenue, right? So eventually, what they earn less than what they can spend. So eventually it got bursted. Okay. So what happened next is the EU will need to step in, okay, because they are all members of the EU, right? So they are all being protected under the big umbrella of the EU, okay? So when those 5 countries they have the issue, then you have to kind of to help them, okay? But before the EU help them, those 5 countries they actually experience a lot of dramatic stuff, okay? For example, the interest rate we have in the banks nowadays in Taiwan is probably about 1 point something percent, close to 2%. But then if you look at the Greece interest rate back in 2011, it shoots through the roof. We are talking about 30% interest rate. That's crazy, okay? And you might think that's history already, but then if you look at the sovereign bond yields for Japan, for US, they all rise to 5 to 6%. So these kind of crises could come back, and we are actually in the beginning of it. Okay, so that's why it makes this topic more important and imperative to learn, because they will actually help you to predict where the future is going to lead us and whether there's any ways we can better protect ourselves. All right? Okay, so just while we are waiting for other students to come, and also we have started the class, I just want to remind you of this interesting topic that we're gonna do in this course. Okay, so I wonder if any of you will have any questions regarding this, or the second midterm, or the first midterm. I mean the first presentation versus the second one and versus the third one. No? All right. So I wonder. So today I think we have team 6 and team 7 and team 8, right? To present, right? Because I think last time we have Asha, right? Was that the full completion, or we are halfway through at Asha's presentation? Did we finish the Q&A? No. Not yet. Okay, so maybe we'll continue from there. Okay, but before that, I just want to make sure we have our teams here. So what's my phone? Okay, so number 6 is that Anna? Yeah, and number 7, Annie. And number 8, Katie. Okay, good. Okay, so we have these people right here, and so Asha is number 5. Who's number 4? Him. All right. So Asha, did you want to come here and then just let us finish the Q&A? Then we are done for the day. Okay. I mean, we are done with your part.
Yeah.
Okay.
I only miss your question.
Yeah. So maybe you can come here and then just take the questions from here. All right.
Victor is not here, so I cannot project my presentation.
Yeah.
That was
I
your
think so.
turn. Teach.
I mean the Q&A. You asked.
Yes.
You did? Oh yeah, you asked 2 questions.
Yeah, already.
You missed the third one. You asked only 2 questions.
Last time I asked two questions already.
Yeah. So you don't want to do the third one? No? Okay, that's fine. Alright, yes. Alright, so thanks Asha to be with us, and then I think him finished the his question, and then so we'll point the the end of the conclusion of the first round of introduction. Now we're gonna go into the second round. So all the people in this room, feel free to ask questions. Okay. Okay, so if there's no other question, did you mind if you do you have your PowerPoint here?
I can project.
Oh, that's fine. Okay.
Others creating is online finance.
Did you guys need to see the PowerPoint to get reminded?
Oh yeah, this is this. So it's this one.